Her freckles were doing it again. The bioluminescence moved in short, stuttering pulses, cheekbone to jaw, jaw back up, and she could not make it stop. The human was 30 centimeters away, eating cold rice with the focused indifference of a man performing maintenance on a machine. He had not looked at her, had not flinched, had not moved. He just kept eating. Some stories don't announce themselves. They sit down next to you, open a container of cold rice, eat it and change everything without saying a word. If that kind of quiet hits differently for you, come be part of the crew. Subscribe, and I'll be here when the next one lands. 3 days ago, the hardest part of Thessia's afternoon had been deciding whether the nutritional paste came in a flavor that was less aggressively medicinal than the last one. That was before Seat 14A had a person in it. The communal mess on Deck 4 ran 300 seats across 6 long rows, and at 1200 hours it was never less than full. The air carried the layered heat of 24 different food prep units, the low, constant murmur of station personnel burning through a 30-minute break, the scrape of trays and the particular acoustics of a room that had not been designed for quiet. Thessia had cataloged all of it in the first week, or she'd had 3 years since then to memorize the finer details. The way the lighting panel above row 3 had a half-second flicker every 4 minutes. The way the Vorath engineers always claimed the same corner booth and never spoke to anyone outside their crew. The way every single species on this station, without instruction, without apparent coordination, simply arranged themselves away from her. Not rudely. That had surprised her initially. There was no hostility in it. They moved the way water moves around a stone. Not because they chose the longer path, but because the longer path was simply the one that existed. Thessia Vel Undris, formerly of the Kethrani Diplomatic Accord, ate her lunch alone in Seat 14C every day. Had for 3 years. The 4 seats bracketing hers, A, B, D, E, functioned as a kind of invisible exclusion zone. Other species detected her pheromone signature as something deeply unpleasant, when an olfactory alarm their bodies answered before their minds caught up. She had read the biological literature on it. She understood the mechanism completely. That had not made the understanding useful. She had stopped tracking the empty chairs 6 months in. By month 14, she had stopped watching the door. She was watching her pace cool when the man sat down in 14A. No hesitation, no scan of the room. He set down a scratched metal tray, cold rice, something pickled, a cup that smells strongly of black coffee, dropped into the seat with the unhurried ease of someone who had already spent most of his energy on getting there, and started eating. He was human, male, somewhere in his early 40s by the weathering of his hands. Those hands were extraordinary. Thick through the forearm, cross-hatched with old burn scars, the kind that accumulate over years of work done in hot, unforgiving spaces. A mechanic, she guessed. Station crew, not transit. He wore a watch on his left wrist. She noticed it because the face was dark. No display, no indicator light. Dead. He glanced at it between bites the way she'd seen humans glance at functioning ones, checking out of habit, receiving nothing. Then tapped the crystal once with one blunt fingertip and went back to his rice. Her freckles pulsed. She pressed her fingers flat against the table and tried to regulate it. He did not react. 3 years of empty chairs. And nobody thought to mention that the silence might end on an unremarkable Tuesday. If you want to be around when the next ordinary moment turns into something else entirely, subscribe and stay close. There's more coming. He came back the next day. Same tray, Same rice, same dead watch. He sat in 14A again, with the same absence of ceremony. No glance toward her, no performance of tolerance, no careful studied neutrality that she had learned to recognize as its own kind of awareness. Just a man who had found a seat that worked and saw no reason to find a different one. Thessia's freckles did not pulse as badly in the second day. She noted that without knowing what to do with it. By the fourth day, she had cataloged him the way she cataloged everything on this station. Dav. She'd caught the name from a passing crew chief who leaned over to ask him about a coupling valve on sublevel 3. Dav. One syllable, closed at both ends. He answered the question in 12 words and went back to his coffee. The crew chief left. Dav did not watch him go. He was, she was slowly concluding, one of the quietest people she had encountered across 7 years of diplomatic postings and 3 years of exile. Not quiet in the careful way, not the quietness of someone managing their reactions around a species they'd been briefed on. Just quiet the way a room is quiet when nothing in it needs to make noise. On the 6th day, she looked at the watch. She'd been looking at it every day, but on the 6th day she let herself look directly, for long enough that it became a question instead of an observation. The face was definitely stopped. The hand sat frozen at 417. The band was worn through at the buckle hole, the leather creased into permanent curves from years of the same wrist. "Why do you wear it?" she said, "if it doesn't work?" He glanced at it. Tapped the face once. The same tap, the same reflex. And then he shrugged, the way she'd noticed humans shrug when the answer existed, but didn't feel like it owed anyone a spoken form. He went back to his rice. She found that she was not insulted. That surprised her more than the answer would have. Back to where it started. Her freckles were moving in short, stuttering pulses, cheekbone to jaw, and the rice was halfway gone from his tray. And 30 centimeters was a very small measurement when the 30 centimeters in question had been uncrossable for 3 years. She looked at the space between them. Then she looked at her paste, cooling in its container. "You're the first person who sat here in 3 years," she said. He picked up his coffee, drank, set it down. "Huh. A beat. Good spot." And that was all. He finished his rice. He left when his break ended. He did not say goodbye, but she had noticed by then that he did not say goodbye to anyone. He simply stopped being in a place when it was time to stop being there. Thessia sat in 14C for 4 minutes after he left. Her freckles had gone still. Weeks later, the watch sat against the pale skin of her inner wrist, the leather warm from her pulse. The hand still read 417. She had not asked what time that was supposed to mean, and he had never explained. It kept, she was finding, exactly as good a time as she needed. Did Dav ever figure out what he actually did for her? Or did he go to his grave thinking it was just a good spot? Tell me what you think in the comments, and subscribe if you want to be here when the next quiet moment hits louder than it should. Tomorrow's story has the same weight, different universe.